4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello. Here we are with Farida again at the Global Empowerment Summit. And I'm really happy to have her again. We already talked a little bit about your Everest story, and here we are to continue. Hi, Farida. How are you today?
Hi, Andrea. I'm all good.
Nice to meet you. It's really good to have you here. Farida is tuning in from Egypt, so we are very far from each other, and I'm really happy to have you here again. If you didn't watch the part 1, then you can go back to the YouTube channel and you can search for Everest, and you will see that we already started to explain, and she was explaining us about her story, how she convinced her parents so that they can let her go and climb the Everest, and what was her strategy. And if you want to do something crazy, then she's the one you can learn from how to do it diplomatically right. Right, Farida?
Yes, I think so.
So it's super nice to have you here again. We will have another half an hour conversation, and I just wanted you to share with us another part of the story, which is more about the experience itself, right? To describe to the people, how did it start? Where did you have to fly? How did you go? Did you climb? Did you walk? Did you go on a on any horse? Or how did you go there? So tell us a little bit more about this story.
Wow. It feels like I have goosebumps. It's very overwhelming. So as of the last thing that I've mentioned, the same exact time of where I had to travel to the Himalayas, where the same exact time I had my final examinations as a senior high school student. So after I made my negotiations with school and I postponed my final exams and I convinced them to do so, this is when I trained and committed into, uh, you know, um, taking care of my diet and practicing 6 days a week and so on and so forth. So I had to fly from Egypt all the way to Nepal, and then we had to stay one night in Nepal, in Kathmandu, which is the capital city of Nepal. And then you have to take, if we Google just right now while I'm talking, the world's most dangerous airport, you'll find out that the world's most dangerous airport is the plane that takes you from Kathmandu, Nepal, till the Himalaya mountains. So to be honest, I did know this piece of information and I didn't talk much about it to my parents, although I was very honest with my parents of all, um, the securities part of how I am secure, and the insurance and everything that has to do anything with that. But this was the only piece of information that I did not share information about. So I remember when we were heading to the airport, and it's called Nukla Airport. So we were heading to the airport, and they started to tell us, you'll only have like 10 kilometers maximum on our backpack, our hiking backpack. And we're basically allowed to half the 10 kilometers, kilograms. What am I? Okay, we're only allowed to have that mainly based on, snacks and food and not clothing. And they started to tell us we were 14 girls from 11 different nationalities, and we come from extreme different backgrounds, from different parts of the world. And they even tell us, if you are practicing any kind of religion, please do so just in case something happens, then you're good to go. And I remember I felt very, very overwhelmed. As a 17-year-old kid, oh gosh, I could just, my life could end before, I start the entire expedition. Or it could, if I can survive the highest mountain in the world and everything, I can still have my life ended, even if I survived the mountain on my way back home. So I decided, as crazy, as raw as I could say it, I remember we put our backpacks and we did the checkups, and then I had to throw away many stuff because I had, 15 kilograms on me. And then I walk, and then I see the plane, and then I randomly decided to take a selfie, send it to my beloved mom, and tell her that I love her so much, and it might be the last picture of me. Oh yes, I know.
What did she say? I mean, come on. It's like finally she let you
It was
go and then you
very,
said or something like this.
yeah. Up until now, many people, they don't get it. Like, what were you thinking of? Why would you do something so brutal like this? But I couldn't explain much what was going on in my mind as a 17-year-old, you know, being overwhelmed. I was very overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. Like, what if I wasn't back home? I had to think about something. I had to tell her that I loved her because I was very scared. This is the only moment, I thought, oh, what have I done? Where did I bring myself? Um, so yeah,
So
we went on the
how was
plane.
this airport? How was the flight experience? Was it really shaky or it was all good?
Disaster. It was 45 minutes. So I sent in the message. I sent her my picture. Didn't send anyone else. Just this, with no explanations. And then boom, I'm gone for 45 minutes. We went in. Was a very, very small plane. I had to put my backpack between my legs. And at some point, I had to lean my back onto both of my legs. So then, I could feel, safe. And then if something happened, because the turbulence was very bad, they kept telling us that the reasons why the plane might fall, it has many, reasons. Um, um, the altitude, the plane moving within the mountains, and so on and so forth. So every single time, the plane keeps on, doing all its crazy turbulences, and people screaming, the other time screaming because it was very bad. I would just lean my back on both of my legs and then just close my eyes and I'm sleeping. But just only, like, I remember the first 2 minutes. I had my phone and I took a video of this very dirty window I was sitting next to. But then I think the worst part was the landing, because the plane didn't land normally. They don't even the plane doesn't land on, railways. Like, it's not a proper railway. So they land on the mountain, and it's not just ready. The mountain is not ready to, take an entire plane to land. So I remember this was very, very bad, and this is when I realized that something bad's going to happen. And when you keep closing your eyes up until you hear silence, so then oh, I opened my eyes and I said, oh, we're safe, we didn't die, fantastic. So I was very blessed, to be honest, and I was very happy, and I had so much of butterflies in my stomach. And the first thing I thought of that I needed to tell this woman I left, like, I'm still making it. She had a total breakdown, to be honest, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the best idea. Um, she didn't understand why, and I have a twin brother. He just kept texting me like crazy. What did you do? Why did you do that? Like he didn't believe that something is happening. He thought that I'm doing something, I'm just pulling things over and I'm being dramatic or something. And then he just kept, the first, because there is 3G on the mountain. People are a bit confused about that. I only lost connection in the last 4 days or something, and I had to buy Wi-Fi at some point. But then there was connection. Like I was able to communicate with my family very well. And I would actually say it's very funny that the mountain has very good internet connection, but they don't have bathrooms. So like, okay.
So
So
that's
yeah,
super good. So we are already on the plane. You already landed at the. How high does the plane land? Like what height of the mountain you land with
starts
the plane?
at 1,100 meters above sea level. This is where you start, and this is where the plane lands. And we went as high as 5,500 meters.
Hmm.
Took us 14 days. Yeah, and I remember we would take only one day because of the oxygen level becomes very low. It's not just the breathing problems, of course. And you can get like very easily. You can have the altitude sickness. I remember we had days that the guide would come and tell us, tomorrow we're only climbing 600 meters, and that's not much. Usually we could do more than that. However, we're doing a 600-meter, hike. It's a very small hike, 600-meter thing in 7 hours. And then the first time I would listen to that, it sounds easy, like excited. I was hyper. This was bad. This was very bad because I started with all my energy, giving all my energy in, because I thought this was easy. I could do this, and I was very happy that I'm actually keeping up physically, because again, I was only focusing on my physical status. And then up until the third day, I was hit by altitude sickness too fast. I would leave my group and just move forward and wait for them at some point. And this was very very long. You had to take your own pace as slow as possible. No one is running after you, and actually the weakest should become at the front. This is something that they taught us, and obviously I was the weakest. Yeah, I had professionals with me. I had women that climbed 8 mountains in the Himalayas before. So they were people that I would still up until this day look up to and learn from. But I knew I was the weakest. No, it wasn't yet until I actually, got convinced that I am. Um, so usually they put the weakest in front, and everyone follows the pace of the weakest one, and the strongest become at the back. And I've always found this as an example of wolves and how they usually, they commute from somewhere to another. But then I understood why did they do that. And then by the time I had my altitude sickness, it was very bad. I had my oxygen level dropping. I was very weak. I had myself to the point, when they said, okay, if she's not feeling better the next day, she has to descend. Because if you keep on climbing and you're having altitude sickness, this could kill you. Uh, and I remember I had nausea, I had diarrhea, I was vomiting, I was not conscious, and this was very bad. This is when I was mentally being very drained. drained. It was very bad when they join in the morning. We wake up and then they tell me, "Oh, hi, good morning, Farida. What's your name?" I keep staring at my guide and I tell him, "Oh, you just said." He repeats his question again, "Farida, what's your name?" And then I decide to tell him my nickname. I told him my name is Dida. And then he stares, like he looks straight to my eyes and he tells me, "Okay, what are you doing here?" And then I look at him and tell him, I think I'm going to eat a piece of chocolate now. I'm not conscious. I'm in the nowhere, you know? And then a few minutes later I realize what I just did with him. And then I feel so bad emotionally that I'm not able to control my mind. I'm something wrong and I don't know what it is. I feel numb at the, because we had to take medicine that usually protects your body from the altitude sickness. And the highlighted side effects of that medicine is when you feel numb at the end of your body limbs. So usually at your fingers, of your hands, your legs, or maybe you could feel dizzy from your head. So I was upset at myself. I was mad. Like, why don't I know my name? What's wrong with knowing my name? I had a struggle. They would come and tell me how old are you? And then I look at them. I remember our leader, she comes in and I look at her and I tell her, I'm on the 18th of June, but then my father decided to put me on the 15th of July. So do you want the legal papers or the official papers? And then she said, how old are you? You don't know? And then I come to realize, oh, what have I done? And then I feel bad about it. And then I keep quiet and I stop answering the questions. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. And I remember I was lucky that when I got sick, we had 1 day to accumulate. So we had to stay and not go anywhere, just for 1 day. This is when our body is, keeping up with the oxygen level. So we had to pause and then we continue. This day, they said the following one, which is the 5th day, if she's not keeping up, she has to go down. She has to descend. And I remember when I sat down with myself that night, I was very sick. My oxygen level, I knew, they said I wasn't so conscious. I was very sick. I wasn't able to eat. I had excruciating pain in my stomach. And they said, all I heard is she wakes up the next morning and her oxygen is not more than 75% or 80 something. She has to descend. And I wake up in the middle of the night and I keep telling myself, like, I know my body is giving up. I know you're giving up, but I just want you to continue. I needed to believe that I'm going to be able to do it. So I stopped being mad at myself and I started to practice to understand and validate what I'm feeling and what I'm going through. So this is when, I made peace with the idea of me coming all a long way and having the possibility of me descending. And then I just, I know you're giving up, but please keep up. I just kept telling this in my mind to my body. And for some reason, I woke up the next morning. I was very active. One of the things that the altitude sickness does, that you lose your appetite. This was also very emotionally draining because it's so bad. I'm eating the food and I'm not, like, I don't know what I'm eating. Last time they tried, to know how bad my sickness is. I had a chocolate. I ate the chocolate, and then I had a lemon. They squeezed the lemon in my mouth, and I didn't know the difference.
That's interesting. That's really interesting how your body is tricking you at the end. Was it also really cold, or how should we imagine? Like, what are the gears that you have to take? What did you see? Did you see animals? Did you see snow? What was up there? Like, describe the place a little bit.
Yeah. So as of someone that comes from Egypt, I've never been to any country that has snow. So it was the first time I've been encountering that. I was very excited. I would say, of course, it depends on what month. Which month of the year that you're going to visit the Himalayas. I went late March. Yes, late March. This was perfect. But I would say like -13. It's very, very cold. And I'm only warm if I'm inside my sleeping bag or if we're sitting in front of the heater. Otherwise, we're shaking. In the morning, if I'm if there's no sunlight, it's very cold. If there's sunlight, it's extremely hot. There was like a love-hate relationship between the weather and me. I don't know. So every time I just take off my jacket and then get it in again. So we wear dry fit t-shirts as basic, and then we wear shirts that are fleece, so it keeps you warm. And then we have the third layer is a thin jacket, and then if needed, that's what we needed in the last 6 days, I guess. The heavy jacket. So I would say normally we would wear 3 layers. At the bottom, same goes that. I have a leggings, and then we have, normal trekking or hiking pants. And then because of the snow, we had a third pair of pants to protect us from snow, so you wouldn't, get injured and anything because the snow was very sharp. They even told us we have to wear sunglasses when there's too much snow, so we wouldn't hurt our eyes. And this is something that I never knew. And I remember I was way too excited, and I decided to leave my group and, move in advance, take off my glasses, sit on snow, and keep playing doing shapes in the middle of nowhere. And then I remember my leader, she was screaming, calling out my name because she wants me to put my glasses on. This could get me blind right away. Just one single snowflake comes in my eye, and then that's it. And then they kept screaming, and for a second, I didn't recognize the language, even though she knew how to speak Arabic. She did speak Arabic. She called me out in English. She called me out in Nepali. She said, "Oh, she even spoke to me in French. She knows I speak French." And nothing. I'm in the La La Land. I was a happy kid. First time I'm encountering snow. I wanted to play, so I sat and play. It was very. I'm not gonna say I was not me. I was just not so conscious. I was sick. So when I do something, I would say stupid, and they come and I get, um, they sometimes my leader could come and she starts to shout at my face, and what are you doing? You have to keep yourself safe. You have to tell me if something is wrong. I feel very bad. I grill myself like I did this to myself. I'm not in control. I don't know how to do this and that. But usually I get a lot of support from the other climbers. Like they were very, very supportive, to be honest. So yeah, I was sick at the third day. I had the altitude sickness. And then on the sixth day, when we were starting to continue our trek, I was feeling better. So they gave me the green light to continue. And then 2 days in, I almost had a very bad frostbite. And this one was very bad. Why? Again, because of me. It was this one day, we went back a little bit earlier than usual. And I was, I wanted to take a nap. And it's very wrong to take a nap, especially during the time where where the sun, when there's what do you call it? What do you call it?
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunset. Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. So when there's sunset, this is when the weather is switching dramatically between when the sun is there and the sun is not. So it's not very healthy and it's not very good when you're sleeping during that time. The trip was 14 days. For those who are asking, So this was on the 7th day. So I wanted to take the nap and they told me not to, but then I insisted and I told them that I'm gonna do this on my fully responsibility for this and that. And I kept telling them, in Cairo, when I'm back from school, I have to take a nap and then I wake up and then I still end up sleeping early. So I could convince them for me to go sleep. I went to sleep and I forgot to take my my socks off. We have two pairs of layers of socks that we wear. One to protect your leg, your feet, and the other is for when it inflates. When there's inflammation, it protects your leg from any blisters and anything. So basically, 9 hours my socks in my shoes means I had sweat, and sweat is water. And me going to sleep with a format of water in my leg while the weather was dropping means it was frozen at some point. And I didn't wake up. It wasn't a nap. I continued sleeping. And then I remember I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't speak. I couldn't call out to anyone for help. I was just breathing very heavily. And my roommate, God bless her, she woke up and she knew something was wrong and we had our headlights on and she keeps telling me what's wrong, what's happening, and I'm not replying. It just keeps breathing heavily. And then I wanted to drink some water, so she brought my water bottle from right beside me. She picked it up and then it was frozen. We didn't find any water to drink. She knew that something is wrong. She didn't know what to do. And then I was able to, tell her something is wrong down there. I don't know what it is, and I couldn't tell what's wrong. So she pulled the sleeping bag where I was in, and then she screamed. It was very, very bad. But thank God I didn't have anything like up till now that affected me. It was very bad, and she woke up. She had to wake up. I'm sorry, the entire team, so everyone can wake up. And this was, I can say, one of the most emotional times I had in my entire life. They said to be able to save her, we need to have fire. In order to have fire in this extreme cold weather, we need to find, so the animals that we find on the mountains are called yaks. Yaks are used as the main transportation animal for the people that live on the mountain. They're called the people that live on the mountain. They're called Sherpas. And this was another whole experience that I'm going to talk about as briefly as possible. But then those people, they were the highlight of my entire trip. But then they used the yak animals to transport the food, their shells, everything from down the mountain up until they live at 3,000 something meters above the sea level in a place called Namshi Bazaar. So they said that the climbers have to go out, search for yaks. How do I say this? To get it barehanded because we don't have time, collect, and then we start the fire. And I remember I was very anxious because I was not sure how would the other climbers feel about the fact that they have to go in the middle of the night in a -17 and -21 Celsius degree to go pick up some random stool of an animal barehanded just for me to be okay. This was extremely, extremely, it changed my life. I got to understand so many that I didn't know of. And all 13 women, they went out with no doubt and they started to help out. And the guides were very helpful. The people that live on the mountain were very helpful. And they had the situation resolved in, I guess, 20 minutes up until like slowly. Every time the ice melts off my feet, they start to take off the socks slowly. So nothing bad could happen to my feet and, I wouldn't get burned and so on and so forth. So we had it resolved, and my foot was treated very, very well, that I was able to continue. So we reached the base camp on the 9th day. We climb up until the 9th, and then we descend in 4 days. So the 7th means we have, only 2 days left to do this. At this point, it was very hard for me to descend. You can just come and tell me, oh, we have to descend because you're not going to be able to walk. It was bad. And I had total denial. I even told them, I remember in the middle of how bad the situation was, and I told them I need to eat sneakers. I have sneakers and Snickers chocolate in my bag, and I have to eat it because I don't feel well. I had a total denial. I was emotionally blacked out. And then when I was feeling better, and then I had only one pair of socks. I had to continue from the 7th day up until the 14th. So besides the hygienic part where it's not that it's wet, but this is not very good for the blisters. So I had a lot of blisters while, the time I was going back home compared to the other climbers. But it was okay. I was keeping up with the pain. I didn't use much of painkillers. It's not good at, this high, how high we were. But then it was okay. So I got to realize that yaks saved my life, basically. And those people, if they didn't, I would definitely respect whichever choices they would have made, but then they didn't say, oh, ew, this is disgusting, I'm not going to do that. No one, like, we were 14 women, all 13 did so. So, I felt how small I'm so small. Like, I didn't know, like, where am I getting myself into? But then I had to realize how beautiful the world is, and how this is when I knew that this was worth it. This experience was worth it. When each and every person that comes to me and tells me, why would a 17-year-old kid do this to herself? I would come and say, because of the beautiful people that I had to encounter, because of the world that I had to get into myself,
And how was it at the base camp? Because we are already here, you are already describing, you went up, you had 4 more days to go down. But how was it at the base camp? What did you see? What did you experience there before you went down?
Yeah, so on the 9th day, I remember we wake up, and then we keep pushing ourselves through, helping ourselves, supporting each other, and so it was a very small hike. So up until we can usually take 9 hours trekking from a point A to point B. But then the day of, reaching the base camp, it was a very small hike. I had a very, very tight trail that I was walking through, and I saw 2 avalanches live. It was so beautiful. Yet very scary. It was very huge. I felt again like very small. Like, what am I doing in this world? It was very beautiful. And I remember the exact moment they said, this is the base camp. This is where it's it. And I saw Nepal has colorful flags, and it explains how peaceful their lives are, and how they always, want to have the spiritual, peaceful connection, and so on and so forth. So this is where the colorful flags of Nepal come from. So I saw a lot of colorful flags, and I saw a rock, a very huge rock, written on it with a spray, Everest Base Camp, 5,500 meters. And I started to burst, and I cried because I didn't, and I was crying, and I didn't know I would actually do it. I didn't believe, I would actually do it. I was only able to do this because of the people that I was with, because of the experiences that I had to go through, because of nature and the animals on the mountains, and the beautiful people that live on the mountain, and the kindness within people, the humanity of how people were very supportive. Because on the 8th day, I was just breaking down like the day before. I broke down on the mountain and I kept crying and I told them I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I remember one of the climbers, she came and she put her hands on my shoulders and she told me, Farida, you're going to do this even if I'm going to carry you on my back. Better get yourself up and let's continue. This like just like that, as blunt as it is, just get yourself up. Anyway, you're going to do this. Don't worry, it's fine. I'll carry on my back. So I had a lot of overwhelming feelings, and I was shocked and happy, and it was very beautiful. I saw 3 acts, and we saw the tents where the people who are summiting the mountain were staying. They start base camp 1, 2, 3, up until base camp 4, and we had a chat with those people and how they find their intuition and how they find their motivation and how you have this love-hate relationship with the mountains. I was connected to another new world. It was very, very beautiful, to be honest, and it changed my life. It was like just as it is, a once a lifetime experience. So
And
yeah,
would you do it again, or what's for the future for Farida at the end of this conversation? Because it was so beautiful that you described, and I believe everyone just felt a little bit like they would be there. So what will be for the future for you? Do you have other mountains to climb in your bucket list, or what's next?
Yes. Actually, I was supposed to climb the highest mountain in Africa last August, but then I wasn't properly ready because I didn't have the chance to train because of COVID situation.
Yeah.
But then I'm targeting to be able to, if be possible to do that, climb Kilimanjaro, which is the highest mountain in Africa. They say it's like the hardest after the base camp right away because it's very, very steep. And Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in Europe, it's in France, I guess. I've seen, all the other climbers when they did it. It's another experience because Kilimanjaro is hot and there's no snow, mostly mud, and rocky mountain. Base camp was different. Every mountain has different structure. I even wanted to climb a mountain in Malaysia, the Kinabalu, but then I
the
wasn't
Mount
able to.
Kinabalu. We did it. I was up there. I also have a little bit of motion sickness,
I
but
think
not too much.
this would be my first because it's the easiest. Once
Yes.
I'm back, I think I'm definitely going to do that. So it's a lovely experience, and hiking is another whole new beautiful sport. If people would, get into it, they would love it. So if someone is thinking about risking it, here's a sign. Go for it.
Yeah, here is someone who shared her experience, and she was up there and she loved it. And I'm really, really thankful for you for describing these moments and all these little details that we could just feel how it is if we really have the courage to go there. And you also talked about the power of humanity and how they helped you and how everyone was for everyone else, and about how the strongest has to be in the back to support all the people in front. It's a beautiful message for leadership. So thank you
Yes.
very much. It was nice to talk to you again. And if you would like to, for the audience, if you would like to watch back the first part when she was talking about the first part, how she started the adventure, then please check it back on YouTube. And thank you very much, Farida. It was a nice 30
Andrea.
minutes.
Thank you so much for having me in, and thank you for bringing this all together. And I hope you're having a great day, just like you did mine.
Thank you very much, Farida, for all the experiences. Bye bye.
Bye bye.